Hello, I'm EpiXTrica and welcome back to an episode of my Minecraft Xbox Update Adventures Let's Play. This is the Let's Play where I've been playing through the various updates that have come out for Minecraft Bedrock Edition, building stuff, killing stuff, and of course, destroying stuff, as you can see from my huge destroyed flatland just over there. Anyway, in today's episode, I'm actually going to be doing a lot of different projects. I'm mostly going to be kind of finishing up projects that have been at like 95% in the world for a seriously long time, and the reason we're doing this is one, because usually in this Let's Play we focus on doing whole projects from scratch, and I think there's a good reason for that. I think there is some real benefit to just, having a whole, singular project per episode, but I also think that sometimes it makes sense to have, like these little last bits, because my favorite two blocks in any given Minecraft project are the first block and the last block, and given that we can't just start a bunch of projects, because then that creates the problem of having even more unfinished projects, I figured why not do the last 10% of a bunch of stuff to help prepare this map to eventually be released on the marketplace. So, small stuff like, why is there wood expanding past where there is stone slabs? We do that, and wow, everything looks a little bit more official. Stuff like that all over the place I want to kind of be finishing up, and today we'll be focusing on three different things. The first one is the huge bed, the second one is going to be the, desert pathway to the gravel area, and which means we do have to take some gravel with us. I know, it's terrible, literally the worst thing that's ever happened to humanity. And then third of all, it is the big one, the worst build I've ever made in Minecraft. It's awful, I look at it and I just bring shame upon myself, but we have to do it, so we're doing that. And today, what we talk about are the other things that, have been going on the past week, because as you all do know, Let's Play is not just an opportunity to build, talk about things in the latest update, I guess, as well as things in future updates, which this one will kind of be relating to, but it's also an opportunity to talk about what's been going on in the past week, because I know a lot of you are curious as to, what is going on? Why are you over here? What are you doing there? It's kind of like a vlog opportunity, so what have I been up to in the past week? And honestly, the answer to that question is, the biggest part in terms of, the mental space that it took up was I went to Canada. So Canada is one of my favorite countries. I think, honestly, if you ask most British people, what countries do you think favorably of, I think Canada always comes up, pretty high on that list, oh yeah, well, I mean, there's the shared history, there's the shared culture, the shared connection on pretty much every single front. So yeah, big fan of Canada, and therefore going to Canada is something I'm a big fan of doing. And yeah, I went to Canada, it was wonderful, as you might expect, and honestly, just the amount of stuff I did, because I was only there for 36 hours, it's really weird for most people to go to Canada for 2 days. It just happened to work out, because I found a very cheap flight. It was £42, about 56 US dollars, and I was like, sure, at that price, even if it's 2 days, I'll give it a whirl, and I'm so glad I did. I saw so much, did so much. It was a great couple of days, in my opinion. Again, there's second channel stuff if you care more about the specifics on that, but assuming you don't, then yeah, I like Canada. I like Canada a lot. I like also, it's worth noting, poutine, and honestly, I know this is the weirdest thing to like, but there is the national coffee chain of Canada is Tim Hortons, and every time I go, I'm just blown away afresh by just how good and better it is than every other coffee chain in the UK, at least. So I'm always that's a nice little benefit every time I go. By the way, see this entire bed is finished. Wasn't that last block so satisfying, knowing that the bed's gone from being this weird thing with a hole in to oh, it actually looks like a Minecraft bed. Although actually, now it's been so long since I first started this that now Minecraft beds don't need to be red, so making out of redstone was arguably a silly idea, but we've done it regardless. It's a super glowing bed that now if we place any redstone contraptions on, they'll all automatically turn on. So that's either a good thing or probably a very bad thing. Next up, let's fly up this mountain here. Not because it's unfinished, but just because I really like coming to this mountain as an example of yeah, I did a really ridiculous project that no one even ever gets to see, because the fact that it's a perfectly flat mountain, like a tabletop mountain, you just don't get to see it from anywhere else, but I still kind of like it regardless. And we can use this as an opportunity to talk about the desert. So the desert you can see from pretty much everywhere in this world. It's the one big thing everyone asks questions about when they first see the Let's Play world. And yeah, one of the things about the desert that's honestly annoyed me for so long, but it annoys me so much even I don't want to deal with it, is the fact that the pathway is just a mess. You can see here, it's meant to be a sandstone kind of underbelly with gravel on top. I think it kind of show what the pathway would look like if the desert was still here. But one, while I was getting the sand under this, I made big mistakes and now it kind of sags a bit here. Not a good thing. I would not recommend sagging gravel pathways. And second problem is the fact that if you look over here, it just kind of stops at a certain point, because I figured I should have a gap here for where there's an underground place. I don't know why I decided that entirely, but I kind of just did. And yeah, so it's weird that it just has a gap here. I like the way I did the gap, but I don't know why it's here. And then obviously it just stops along the gravel here. So we're going to just be finishing this up today, because it seems important. Also, it goes through the cave in the same problem. And yeah, we're going to be just working on this, making things work right. And while we do this, let me just talk about the fact that, so besides loving Canada, besides loving Tim Hortons, seriously, I would die for Tim Hortons. I don't even know who Tim Horton is. I think he's a Canadian NHL, I guess it'd be, player, and it's he decided to make a coffee chain. Why is there a link between those two things? I'm not sure it's ever been properly explained. It's just one of those things that is a thing, you know, like, oh, yeah, it's Tim, it's your boy Tim. What he does is he, for some reason, decides that he wants to make coffee after his NHL career. Anyway, and he makes better coffee somehow than everyone else. I don't even know how that's possible. Like, it can't be actually true, right? That that Tim Hortons is actually better than everyone else. So it's clearly just like some weird marketing trick that makes you think they're the best coffee that somehow works on me, and that's what makes it even more bizarre and even more confusing. But rather than talking about the complications that gets me into, let me talk about something which I have been thinking about a bunch on the way there, because, by the way, pro tip, I went to Newfoundland in Canada. Newfoundland, I can't even say it without getting Canadians to laugh at me, but I went to a particular part of Canada that is not very frequently visited, that I would 100% recommend. So if you ever see, again, a similar cheap flight, and you're like, oh, maybe I should go to what is Newfoundland and Labrador, be like, yeah, you totally should. It's bigger than Ireland by land area, surprisingly enough. So there you go. Also, everyone there, they sound Irish, but they don't admit that they sound Irish. They're like, no, that's Newfoundland, and it's like, so you've got really Irish pubs here too. It's like, nah, it's a Newfoundland pub, and it's like, but you also have Irish pubs here, and are they not exactly the same? Well, I mean, kind of, but it's different, don't you see? And yeah, it's just it's a very weird and confusing thing, in my opinion, but that's in my opinion. What is my opinion, really, when you think about it? And I guess the answer is not very much. So, yeah, I'm going to be just putting some gaps in this, and then putting some gravel on the floor, because this is kind of a bit of a mess, if I'm being entirely honest. I'm not liking the way this is developing and looking, but if we just fill in a few more bits of gravel here, and it'll kind of blend into the sandstone slowly. That's the plan here, at least. I don't think it's working as well as I hoped it would. But yeah, there you can see, bunch of gravel. The pathway just about cuts off here to show that, like, oh, it slowly fades out into nothingness, and that's good enough for me. So, next up, after we've done this now, let's just do a few bits of gravel on the other side to show how far we want the gravel to go. And also, remove the random, bit of gravel there that I placed earlier and just kind of left. It's a little bit annoying having stray gravel. Honestly, having any prefix to the word gravel means it's going to be annoying, but stray gravel, worst type of gravel. So, next up, we've got more horses we could theoretically tame and then saddle up. We should do that as well. That's a key part of our journey. So we're just going to have our thing going all the way over here. Make it very clear that we're going out this way until about here, exactly where there's sandstone. There'll be gravel, just to again show where there would have been a pathway if my desert still existed, which it definitely doesn't, by the way. So yeah, we're gonna tame a horse, I guess, until it gets tamed. He seems very fast, by the way, he's walking around, so this might just be the dream horse. Look at me, I'm just nailing things by accident today, which is really the goal. So yeah, one of the things I was thinking about today, because okay, let me tell you about one of my biggest human faults. I think everyone has human faults, whether you admit them or not. Everyone is, it's a speedy horse that has no jumping speed. Like, the speed is amazing, jumping speed is terrible. So, we'll keep that in mind, and we'll bring him back home, I guess. Can he even jump over walls? He literally can't jump over a wall. Actually, I guess he did somehow there. But this is an awful horse on any measure besides speed, it seems. But yeah, one of the things that I kind of realized recently, oh man, this is a busy hut where I live, apparently. One of the things I realized recently is that, like, you know, I have a very human flaw, a very problematic human flaw, in that again, this is something, I think this is me admitting to breaking a mild law, so I'll say it in a very roundabout way, but, you know, okay, it's self-checkouts. I like self-checkout a lot, but one of the things that I like to do, only from time to time, literally on the most mundane things, is I like to, like, put something in the wrong way to kind of test the system. And basically, I'll just admit it, I like to basically steal very, 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 very tiny amounts. So, for instance, today, I went to a little self-checkout. Instead of putting in a chocolate croissant, I put in a croissant. It's 12p cheaper, I believe. And it's like, yeah, I got that 12p. I'm just stealing it. No one has any clue. Their system can't even keep up with me. And I don't even know why that's a thing anyone would enjoy, let alone why it's a thing that, like, I actually get some, like, you know, there's some part of my brain like, yeah, I've done it. I've gotten one over on them. But I do it, like, for tiny things all the time, like putting in a green pepper instead of a red pepper, saving 4p. Every single self-checkout system has a lot of, not the honor system, because it's definitely not honor, but a lot of, like, things they put in the system that they just didn't care about kind of fixing. Like, you know, who is going to, you know, put the wrong thing in to try and save 8p when you could, you know, get checked by someone and then it turns out that they'll know you've done that, and, you know, what if they go to prison for it? Because, one, I mean, the truth is like, I guess people must make that mistake all the time, you know, putting on a croissant instead of a regular croissant, but it's really interesting because because today was the first time like it actually been spotted. Again, so let me clarify, this is all hypothetical, but I have been hypothetically stealing, dozens of pennies over the last, year. Probably enough to make a whole pound, I would say. Like that's how bad my stealing addiction has gone. Because it is, like, let's be honest, it's 100% stealing. If you put in the wrong item, that's not what you put in, and that thing is cheaper, you have stolen from the company. Like, it's not like you're gonna get any lost sleep over it, and I'll be honest, I don't in this hypothetical world, but like, it's a really ridiculous, thing that, I just genuinely get. Also, this is a crazy horse going up slopes like this, but it's something I genuinely do get, some amount of, I don't know, satisfaction from. I can't even describe it. And, I was thinking about today, because basically today it actually got called out. I was at Lidl's, and something went wrong with the checkout, and they looked through it, and they're like, oh, you actually put in, the croissant here, and the chocolate croissant's actually 12p more expensive, so I'll put that in for you instead. And I was like, you thwarted my plan to steal 12p. And he laughed a little bit, and it's like, but you actually did, I was going to just take off that 12p, be happy with that, slowly make the millions by stealing from the checkout, and you have destroyed my plan to do so. And again, it sounds ridiculous to say it like that, and I mean, it is entirely ridiculous, right? But that was actually a thing in my head. So I wanted to talk about this today because it's, like I said, it's something I know is both ridiculous, probably morally, not wrong, but morally incorrect, let's say, because it's not quite genocide, it's not, on that level, but it is there's somewhere down the rungs of the ladder. If this is, The Good Place from that Netflix show, then, I'm still losing some good people points. I'm still doing some things that are arguably not a great thing to. Okay, so we're gonna have to be careful about this to stop the skeleton horse getting out. I said I'd be careful, but apparently I wasn't. Okay, let's put them back in there. But no, just stay in. Anyway, so, basically, I still lost some points, I'm sure. That's a thing that happened. But, I mean, if we're being entirely honest, it's something where there's a broken part of my head. Something that doesn't make any necessarily direct sense, but it's something I do anyway. And I think everyone has things like, but you never can admit to yourself that there's something slightly off about yourself, right? Everyone needs to be told on a very regular basis that no, actually, I'm in the right, it's the world that's wrong. They just can't conform to me. Clearly, if there's something that doesn't work with me, it's the world's problem. And, a lot of the time, a lot of the things the world does dislike, it is the world's problem. The world should understand you better. The world should deal with you better. But I also think in some cases like this one, if you can evaluate yourself from an objective perspective, it isn't a. Oh, so I should probably do these back up. That was a close one. But from some perspectives, like this one for instance, I should start labeling these horses, by the way. But we'll get around to that another time. Do we have any spruce wood? We have some stairs. We can make some stairs. Let's do a little bit of work here. We're not going to finish this, but we'll get it done. Then we'll go to the big, dreadful build, the worst thing I've ever made, and we'll move on to there. But yeah, one of the things about it that kind of is interesting to me is the fact that everyone has slight flaws like this, and a lot of people have, I guess, issues admitting them. And I don't know why that is, right? Wouldn't it be nice if you could separate, things that your brain does that you don't like? Because in a similar way, I was thinking about this, the same, slight joy, again, it's terrible that this is a thing, but the same slight joy I get from, stealing 4p, let's say, is the same, I believe, the same feeling that, old people who go shopping, who then, because, a lot of old people, they go shopping and they love deals. And there's even a part of you that loves this too, right? Where you're like, oh, man, I can save X% on this thing. That is an amazing deal. I can save, 4% off, 8% off. This used to be £200. Now it's, 100, now it's 16. That's amazing. Even though the thing was never actually 200. A lot of companies do that kind of trick where they have pretend sales on things that were never expensive. But, there's laws on it in the UK, but it's a widely done thing. And, it raises the question of, why is that, great to your brain? I don't know for sure, but everyone has slight character flaws. And I was thinking about it, actually, because the scariest thing that could happen, in theory, for this little mistake right here, not mistake, this little, it's definitely not, it's a very well thought out, it's premeditated, theft of, between, 3 and 14p. But the interesting thing is that, technically speaking, you probably could get arrested for that, right? There's probably some way that could turn into a bigger thing. But I think I was thinking so what's the worst that could happen if I do go to prison for a day or something? Because I'm sure the sentence for stealing is probably based on the amount that you do, or maybe it's not. Maybe you can go to prison for a whole year for stealing a single Like saying you bought a croissant when you bought the wrong type of croissant or something. But I was thinking, like, the worst thing about prison, the thing everyone hates about prison is the fact that, or at least in my head, again, this is in my opinion, but it's the fact that, like, when you're done with prison, you basically, your life is still ruined. Even though you've served your sentence, the society still ruins your life even after you've served your prison sentence, because now you've got a criminal record, and nowhere besides the I don't want to say the lowest of places, but most places that have choice won't hire people with criminal records. It's more hassle. They're scared you're going to steal office supplies. Again, especially stealing, right? So I was thinking, like, that's probably the biggest deterrent. When in school, actually, this is interesting because when they said in school, like, oh yeah, so here's why you shouldn't commit crimes, because maybe this is just like the area I live, because there is a high crime rate where I live, but like we generally had like a lesson on like why you shouldn't steal, or like why you shouldn't not why you shouldn't steal, but why you shouldn't go to prison or whatever. And it's like, not only will you be, you go to jail and then you got to go to court and then you do all these different things, but also actually no, it was if you live in the UK you might know this, it's that traveling van with the giraffe in. That might have sounded crazy to people, but it was like a traveling library that also taught you why you shouldn't steal or why you shouldn't commit crimes. But interestingly enough, one of the things they said was like, oh yeah, so as well as serving the sentence, as well as there sometimes being a fine attached and all these other downsides you definitely do not want, get this, they'll also leave a permanent mark on your history that every single employer can see. And it's true, by the way, every single employer will see if you've ever done something wrong. And like the idea of like, because I tried to wrap my head around, why is that the scariest bit? Like, going to prison, especially as an adult, you learn why that's awful, why you definitely don't want that. But why is it that, for some people, and I think a lot of people, in fact, the scariest thing is not the idea of going to prison, it's the idea of like, oh no, I might, I might not be able to get the job I want. And I figured it's because you get your first, like, 18 years of life, all the education that, if you're watching this video, you might be under the age of 18, I'm not sure the demographic breakdown, but, like, a solid, like, 40-50% of you are under the age of 18. So you're in some form of school as you watch this video. I want to say that's true. If it's not, then sorry. If you're in a workplace right now, you have gone through school. So you're in school, or you've gone through school if you're watching this video. And because of that, it's like, okay, imagine all the stuff you're doing right now. It's theoretically for a good cause or whatever. Like, eventually, it will all work out for you. And you'll be able to get a job based on how well you do on all this sort of stuff, or at least in most. That's the traditional life we all used to believe in. But having like something erased from you, having years of your life erased, is like a scary principle. Because in prison, you can't actually erase the years. You just kind of go somewhere and you make the years less fun. Or in modern day prison, there's obviously the bad things, especially in America. Like American prison, like that's more than just taking away the fun. That's literally adding trauma and like all these different things. But like most prison is like, oh yeah, you go there, they lock you in a box for a bit, then they open the box, and then you can go live in society again. But having like your first, having so many years of your life erased, as far as any employer is concerned, that's something that you can't really undo, right? That's something that's scary to everyone. Oh, I put my dirt in a box. My bad. Probably shouldn't have done that. But that's something that's scary a little bit to everyone, because I think everyone fears being forgotten. One of the most human things that I think is I think it's a broken personality trait that we all have, is that you want to be remembered, right? When you die, you want people to know who you were. Like, again, in the first certain number of years of your life, you're like, what I want most is Pop-Tarts. And after that, you're like, I'd like most? I'd like to get drunk, and then I'd like to eat Pop-Tarts. And then you're like, oh man, I would really like it if my friends thought I was cool because I get drunk and eat Pop-Tarts sometimes. Like, there's all these sorts of things. And then eventually, I think like the last, I think it's probably like the last need on the the hierarchy of needs or whatever. But the very last thing that anyone ever wants is like, I'd like to be remembered. That's why people go through some, especially rich people and famous people, but they go through so much effort to like do good things. They're not doing them because they're like, I want to add good to the world. Although sometimes, obviously, there's a part of that. But it's like, I want people to remember me. I want this huge statue of me so that people can be like, oh, who's that guy? They'll look me up and they'll be like, it's this. And I've always thought that's such an odd thing, because so much of human life, even while you're alive, is dedicated to like getting space in people's heads. Because that's what being famous effectively is. That's what's being remembered after your death, is what you're really asking for. You're asking for people to take some of the space in their head and dedicate it to you. And I think that's a really strange thing to want. I think that's a very, very strange thing to want. By the way, this is the sheep prison. It's the worst thing I've ever made. We're going to try to fix it because, again, if I'm going to release the map and expect people to, you know, like, use their mine coins on it or whatever, I'd like to at least have this cleaned up in some way. It's not going to be functional because, you know, I hate working on this. It makes me hate everything. But we're going to do some amount on it. But yeah, so back to what I was saying. You basically, what being remembered is just the desire to, like, want space in other people's heads. And it sounds silly when you say it like that, but so much else in life is also the same thing. Like, why do you dress the way you dress every day? You might be like, oh, it what makes me feel good. But on a base level somewhere, the reason you dress this way instead of another way, which, okay, so every single one of you watching this video, or 95% of you, could look better if you dressed or did a different way or something. Like, this is what I get so many comments on my videos. They're like, oh, hey, Toycat, why do you do that with your hair as opposed to this? Or why do you wear this when you know, if you got a fashion designer, what are they called, like fashion consultant? If you got a guy who was good at fashion or whatever to help you, I'm sure you could look amazing or whatever. And you know, the truth is, this is true for everyone. It's just you don't live on a platform where someone's telling you it every single day. You know, that's by the way, that's the politest version of it. Obviously, most people are like, man, you look like, you know, like a potato took a dump on a, you know, you get some crazy, you know, let's say mean, but like, you know, just comments about how like, you know, there is something there, but it's not what is ideal. Well, the reason that you dress in your non-ideal whatever way is because you're trying to portray a certain look. You want other people's, you know, mental headspace to think of you in a certain way. And I find that strange. But again, in the same way you also want, like, the reason you want to be liked by your friends, the reason you want people to think you're a good person and, you know, all these other different things, is because you want space in other people's heads, and you want that space to be in your exact preferred way. Even though a lot of life is dedicated, like, to filling your own head with, like, ideal things, like, you know, the reason people have fun and do good things is because it activates your brain in just the right ways, which we all kind of like. But the thing we want beyond that even is we want to, you know, have, like, real estate in other people's brains. And I don't know, I don't know for sure exactly why that is. Like, obviously there's like some biological reason of like, the reason we managed to develop from a tribal species where you could live with like one other person maybe, or even from just living as solo people to living as groups, is because, you know, like the reason that can happen is because you all care slightly about each other's opinions. If you didn't care anything about other people, you wouldn't do anything. Like, why get dressed in the morning besides laws, I guess? But, you know, assuming it's legal in your municipality or place of legality, to be naked, why are you not naked every day? Like, what does it matter what people think? Well, it does matter what people think. And personally, as someone who like cares, I think a lot less than the average. That's my feeling. Maybe you disagree. Maybe you think I care more than the average because I put so much effort into justifying my stealing earlier. Although actually, you know, most people wouldn't say that. That is a character flaw, I think, that is undesirable. A lot of you might hear that and be like, man, I don't want to be around Toycat because he might steal my drink now, like, or he might steal my whatever else I have. If I was to meet Toycat, I bet he would take something from me. By the way, I'm not a kleptomaniac. I have no desire to steal actual things from people, as far as I'm aware. Although maybe I'm saying that so that we'll meet up and I can steal your passport or something. Who knows? We don't know for sure. But yeah, it's just kind of a small, interesting thing that everyone wants space in everyone else's heads all the time, but we never admit to ourselves that's what we're doing. Again, I would say this is a human flaw literally everyone has, where you want everyone to think of you in certain ways, but you're not willing to admit that that's how you want them to think of you. And I don't know why this is. I don't know what the deal is of humans. I don't know why we're so broken. I don't know why we can't just be chill and be like, you know, think of me what you will. That's all good. But at the end of the day, people want to be remembered, and that is why. So, a lot of history's most famous people have died. Let's leave that sentence blank. A lot of history's most famous people have died, but the people that die with the most memory are those that are martyred, those who die for what they believe in. Like, a key part of their identity is they did something, and they did it until it killed them. And that is why I generally believe, this is like conspiracy theory Toycat. I think if you want to be really famous, you need to be killed in a... yeah, I think if you want to be really famous, you've got to be killed for what you believe in or whatever. Like, you need to... Wait, let me back that up. Back up this truck a few seconds. That was Don't ignore that. Ignore those last phrases. Again, I like that in the Let's Play we can kind of work through stuff. So that's not correct. I think you've got to, if you are famous and you want to preserve that fame, then you've got to die before you can have, you know, flaws unrelated to it. Like, if Gandhi had lived forever, I'm sure there'd be some awful scandal involving him. If you know, like, I don't know, famous U.S. president. If you know, Roosevelt or Lincoln or any famous person you can think of was alive today, it'd be like, man, I mean, he was a great president, but why does he keep going to, you know, that thing he does with all those, you know, like 17-year-old girls? That is a bit weird. Or like, I really like Roosevelt and the way he saved us in World War II, but the fact that he has like a collection of koala bears he keeps in his garden, and that he only ever talks to them and doesn't have other human contact, that's kind of a weird thing. I think this is why when people die, they're like preserved forever. And that's almost, I would say that if you ever do get to the point where all you care about is being remembered, then I think that's like the most chill way to be cool with death. In a way. And maybe that's why we all want to be remembered. Maybe it's just like a self-built-in thing of like, dying sucks, but you know what doesn't suck? Being remembered. And you can only be remembered if you are not there to physically implant yourself in people's memories. But maybe I'm crazy. Maybe you don't see any link at all between wanting to be popular in a school or clique or friendship group or whatever. Maybe you see those as just entirely different, unlinked things. But I personally think it's interesting that most of what you do, the reason people buy nice cars is so that other people think, wow, that guy is doing well, and you know, therefore he's really cool, and I regret thinking what I used to think about him. Maybe you know, like some people are just like, actually, I like that it has more mile efficiency than this, that, or that. But the thing that I kind of spot is that the common link between pretty much all human behavior is wanting to be in other people's heads, wanting to properly live there, and that's I don't think it's a good thing to want, but I think it's a very human thing to want. So next time you think to yourself, like, man, I really, really, really want, I don't know, Darren to notice me. Who's Darren? Is it a guy? Is it a girl? Who knows? It's a nice neutral name with absolutely nothing attached. But I would really like it if they would notice me. I really want these people to think this. I think it's interesting to sometimes think, like, why? And sometimes there's a good reason why, but a lot of the time there's not. And again, I think it's really good to care socially, because my favorite thing is when other people do care about, you know, like, I don't know, their appearance or their social outlook. When people are friendly, when people put a lot of effort into being friendly, I love that. That is my favorite thing. I like friendly people. I've said this before many times. I like helpful people. I like people who go through a lot of effort. Not just like, oh yeah, I guess if I see a puppy dying in the street, I'll, you know, like, save the puppy. Wow, I'm a good person. But there are people who are like amazing in terms of like actually doing stuff that's like, oh yeah, this guy, he just saw from my facial expression that you know, I was confused by this thing, and he offered to help me out. What a great human being. That's something I like in people. I think is good, and I think that what you like in people is maybe what you should be in yourself. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm crazy. Let me know what you think, because this is a bit of a weird ramble, but it's been something that's just been trapped in my head, partially since Canada. By the way, everyone in Canada, it should be noted, just to kind of bring this all back full circle, because it's raining, and I've got to end the video soon, because, you know, everyone hates rain, especially me. Oh, I've still got a sheep trapped here. But, yeah, one of the things I want to kind of finish today's video on, the sheep farm's not finished, but the redstone bed is, and the desert thing mostly is, and a few little potholes around the place have been patched up. But yeah, I want to just kind of finish today's video by saying that we're going to just make this a little bit nicer as well, because, you know, we're worth it. But I want to finish up today's video and just kind of say that I hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you all enjoy the videos as always. If I sound like I'm going crazy, I'm pretty sure I'm not. But what I think is that Canada is a pretty cool place, and you should go. And one of the best things about it is everyone is genuinely as nice as they always say. And you know what? If you like nice people, if you are a nice person, you want to learn, kind of like, you know, like a monk going to like a big mountain place to learn, you can go to Canada. Also, I briefly mentioned it earlier, so in case you're curious as to what the deal with that is, I've been watching The Good Place on Netflix, I watched like all of it from season 1 to like what is out right now in maybe 2 weeks. So yeah, if you want a really low budget and probably bad, I think it's actually quite badly written, but good concept TV show. It's a show set in heaven. There you go. That's all I can give you, non-spoilers. But, you know, TV of Toy Cat. That's like everyone's favourite segment that I never do except on the third channel. But yeah, anyway, thank you very much for watching this here Let's Play video. If you did or like it, you can like the video and let me know, because it helps out the channel a lot. Lets know you do like the, you know, the Let's Play videos and stuff like this. You can share it if you really liked it, and you can subscribe if you're new around here, because I make videos like this one every single day on the channel. And yeah, you can expect to see a lot of stuff like this in the future. Oh, by the way, I just want to mention also, I've been doing really good, like, I guess, mentally wise. Again, besides stealing, you know, like, carrots sometimes, I've been doing really good, I guess, like, stealing partial carrots, because I'm paying for most of it, just not all of it. I've been really good besides stealing carrots, and I would like to... which is arguably like a big mental health defect or something. But yeah, I've been really good recently, and a part of that is because the channel has been like basically booming again for the first time in a while. Like there was a big, let's call it like down period, and there's been a big up period recently, which is good. You know, I would rather be up than down. If I had to give a preference to a what is that, like a direction? It's called one of the cardinal directions. I would say down definitely beats up, but that's just my opinion. Hope you all enjoyed the video. Hope you like the Let's Play as a whole. Hope it's not getting too laggy. I'm trying to optimize the world here. If it does, then let me know where and when in the video, so I can hopefully work on that in the future. And I guess I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.